Hey, welcome to Cardboard Alchemy. Almost said the wrong one.
So this is Peter Vaughn, and I'm
I shaved my
Rosie
head. Yeah.
um, uh, in jest. So
I don't know which one is least likely. I'm Christian Strain.
Luke, Laurie, we are the development team, or part of the development team for Cardboard Alchemy, and we have taken over the stream today. So we're here to tell you the latest and greatest about things going on at Cardboard Alchemy. We're here for a development retreat down in Burbank, California, and we're here to answer your questions. So welcome.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the chat, everybody. I'll try to say hi to everybody, but I can't pop up everyone who's saying hi.
I see some of our playtesters. I
Yep.
see Impy and Quirkleton.
Yep.
Welcome.
Yeah, a lot of the familiar names in here from people who come to our Discord and play test our games coming up, and yeah, big fans of all of you. So what are we going to be talking about today? We're going to be talking about.
Why don't we start with why we're here in the first place and get that out of the way?
Why are we here?
So why are we here?
So on Earth,
so about 4.6 billion years ago.
We've been here all week. Well, since Monday in LA, and we're doing a dev week. We're diving into games, Flamebound and Whisperwood. Deep dives into it, playing many times together. You get a lot more from it whenever you just play back to back sometimes and in physical. That's really important because we do a lot of play testing on TTS, which a lot of you know, tabletop simulator. But we also need to test it in physical reality, see what it's like on the table, all the pieces that go together, how that works, how things feel in front of you. It all matters. So these are the times where we really dive into that.
And some of you have come by and seen us at conventions, and you've seen a physical version of Whisperwood. So you might have seen it in various stages over the last couple of years at the conventions. And there have been a lot of changes in the last 6 months with Whisperwood. It now has a modular board. It has a whole bunch of components. We're experimenting with different things about the golems and the familiars. So when we arrived earlier this week for this development retreat, one of the first things that we did is we built a new version of the prototype that's all up to date with how we are currently playing online in the Cardboard Alchemy Discord server. So for those of you who aren't aware, I know some of you are playtesters over there, but we do have playtesting for whichever games we are working on in development. There are two groups. There's the purple potion group and the orange potion group. The Whisperwood is considered a purple potion game, and these are not discriminatory classifications. You can decide for yourself which types of games you prefer to play and would prefer to play test. So Whisperwood is a very heavy game, very complex game. Takes a pretty good time to learn it, and the play tests they take several hours. And we are fortunate that we have so many people who are joining us for these play tests, committing for several hours, and then providing very detailed feedback. But we need to see it on the table in front of us, the real deal, the way it will be for us, as when Whisperwood is a real and true product, and we'll all be playing it for real at our game nights and in our homes. So we built a prototype on Monday, and we've been playing almost every day, and sometimes more than once a day, with the development team and sometimes with some guests, and getting some consensus around parts of the game where this is really solid. We're really liking how this is working, and these are some things that we need to focus on changing, as well as this can inspire things about where we should go and how is this going to inform the graphic arts and the decisions about the sizes of components and so on. So I think it's been extremely fruitful. And Chris and I get to spend tons and tons of time together, and Peter and Brad, who aren't here at the moment, but all of us talking about games and experiencing games puts us on the same page with our work.
Yeah, There is a, like you're talking about, there is something interesting about, we're even playing around with where things go at the moment in Whisperwood, because, you know, on TTS, you're not going to accidentally knock over stuff that's right in front of you. But in real life, whenever you go to do something and you knock all the rune markers into your play area, you're like, oh, that's not the best place for that. So yeah, it's very important. Um, I have not won a single Whisperwood game this whole week. So I guess we're pretty much there, right? It's looking good.
The game's completely fair because I've won 3 games this week. So
yeah, yeah. I don't know. We need to work on it a little bit more. I almost won. I lost to Peter on a tiebreaker, and that hurt. That hurt really bad. So I need to redeem myself.
It's an interesting thing because people would always assume that if you're the designer, then you would win the game every time because you know all of its ins and outs and all of its nuances. But I've experienced this many times as a designer where I kind of know what I want the game to be. I know how it should be. And also I have its current version doesn't exist alone. I still have all of the versions in my head. And so things that I think might be good or might work well might not actually work in the current version as it might have in the past. And so when I sit down and I play as a designer, I lose as often as anyone else. And so now as a developer, I have an edge right now. I have an edge in part because I've watched all of these play testers. You know, they're sussing out which aspects of the game are slightly more advantageous, which directions have a better feedback loop into efficiencies and so on.
Peter has a really good question and I interrupt our discussion about what we're doing here, but why isn't Rosie here? Well, it's her birthday, so happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Rosie.
Yeah, and no one should work on their birthday. At least that's my philosophy. Although this is hardly work. This is fun, right? But it's fun work still anyway.
My birthday, I think, it was like the day before my first day on the job here at Cardboard Alchemy when I started, which was pretty fun. And yours is in June also, right?
Yeah. We're one day apart from each other.
Oh, wild.
14 and 15, right?
Nice. Yeah. So there's a couple more questions in there. So we see it looks like Mark Danridge, you're out there driving, you're listening along.
Don't type.
At some point I will put an Andromeda's Edge on my shoulder. So don't try to look though if you're driving. And we were asked, someone back there in the thread, it might have been Impy, asked if we're going to be at UK Games Expo, and the answer is yes. The two of us individually, we will be there, and
as opposed to
like Cardboard Alchemy, as opposed to Cardboard Alchemy as a whole. But Chris and I will be there, and at least that's the current plan, and we will have Whisperwood.
It's my first time going to England.
Yeah. There might have been some other questions. I'm a complete amateur at doing this. Chris knows what he's doing, but we'll try to address your concerns and
put
thoughts.
It all on me, right?
Yeah, it's if something doesn't work, yeah,
my fault. Free birthday. Yeah. I'm looking at all the happy birthdays to Rosie. We lost the entire audience now. We told everybody it was Rosie's birthday.
Oh, they're shutting down.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh, forget
home.
These two. Happy birthday, Rosie. That's fine. That's understandable.
Fair enough. So we're here, and getting on the same page and working together is also about us playing unpublished prototypes. So we're looking at games where it's a little bit like honing your skills also to play some of the great games that are out there, and for us to see them from the same at the same time and talk about them as we play, both from like a mechanical perspective, but also looking at things like how do these games solve problems that are the same kinds of problems that we're working on, because sometimes the challenges that you have in bringing a game from concept to reality involves solving some of the same problems that other designers and other publishers have already figured out.
Impy's trying to start a fight.
Which do I prefer? I'm going to assume she's talking to you.
I'm going to assume she's talking to you.
So Whisperwood or Andromeda's Edge.
We could play it safe, and you could say yours, and I'll say mine. But honestly, I could play both at the not same time. Oh, I would try that, but I could play both back to back.
There's a bit of relaxation that comes from playing Andromeda's Edge, knowing, like I was talking about the problems and getting it to, we solved those. Like I feel like Andromeda's Edge, we solved so many of the problems that there's a comfort in playing a game that's fully baked and balanced, and people love it, and that's fair. It's really fun. And also it's a game that has so much variety and replayability that you can keep tackling it from different directions. My game of choice right now is Whisperwood, in part because that's my job, but also because I'm actually really enjoying watching this game progress, and I've been getting very detailed data on the game, and that's very gratifying to be working at it. You go through these kind of cycles of observation, maybe some excitement, but then also some frustration to inspiration. And then you get this inspiration that takes us to this new level. You come back and you're like, wait, here's something we could do. Let's try that out. And then Chris goes, no, we don't want to do that. And then we argue about it for like an hour or days. And then we get somewhere, and then we do try something out, and then it works. So like we just tried out a new Golem ability that looked really promising. And that was exciting to watch. We had to get from the stage of, is this okay? Is this all right? Does it need something else? To wait, what if we do? And then you try it out, you watch it go. And, when it works, it's a pretty exciting thing.
Speaking of new Golem abilities, we have stuff that we could show. Should we do that now?
Whisperwood sneak peek?
I say that.
That sounds dangerous to me.
I can't seem to move.
I don't know about
around.
it. Two-finger scroll.
I know how to use the. There you go. Okay, I know how to use the software here. I don't know how to use Peter's laptop. Is the problem.
Yeah,
there you go.
Oh, he has reverse scrolling going on. That's what's going on. Yeah, I scrolled the wrong way.
Let's all complain about how Peter has his laptop set up here. I don't know how you just did that. Now we're in trouble.
Two fingers, like
two fingers. Okay,
and
we're gonna go through IT on camera here.
And there.
Gotcha. Okay. So Sergio was kind enough to put a little teaser thing here for us. So he's been sketching up some different golems that are going to be in Whisperwood.
Sergio Chavez did the artwork for Andromeda's Edge. He's done other work for Cardboard Alchemy, including Rise of Tribes and Mission Catastrophe. And he also did some of the artwork for when Peter and I worked on Dwellings of Eldervale, too.
If you're driving, don't look at this. You can come back and look at it if you want. So, of course, we're blacked out some of the other ones here, but this is featuring a sketch that he's done for one of the water golems right now. Current name is River, and I have you said 2. Oh wow, it did work. And here's the close up. This is from the front view too. We don't have it prepared yet, but the side view of it looks very watery, flowy kind of thing. I think this is going to be amazing. I love what he's been playing around with and sketching with these golems. They're going to be awesome.
Now, those of you who've played Whisperwood, you could chime in if you wanted to express like some of your favorite golems or factions, or which element you're more into: air, earth, water, or magic. And or which things you might be most excited to see. So Whisperwood's definitely game that's been on the table. I've got the box here. I don't know if everybody's seen the box.
Oops, I accidentally removed Luke.
Did I get edited out?
There you are.
There we go. Oh, these are all these games we played, and we were playing some games that they're heavy. So
Peter wonders if the eyes will light up.
So Whisperwood definitely on the table, and it takes up a decent amount of table space too. So you won't be disappointed in how much space it takes up.
So buy your new tables now.
We are doing our best. This was quite a challenge with Andromeda's Edge, but doing our best to ensure that when we take a game like this to conventions, like Gen Con, for example, that it can fit on those convention tables, which for those of you who've been there, you know, these tables are only 30 inches across at conventions like that. And that's a lot narrower than a lot of your tables in your homes. Even if you don't have that large of a table, usually it's more than 30 inches across.
Yeah, these golems in the game, they represent guardians of the forest and different elemental nature.
Yeah.
So you're going to interact with them. You're going to get powers by doing that, and in-game scoring as well. They're really great.
Peter chimes in to remind us that's not final box. Also, nothing we're talking about with Whisperwood would be considered final.
Right, or showing. But yeah, just showing some progress, some ideas. In fact, I could show this one too. This is one of our druids that Sergio's also drawn up. Her name is Heather Drift right now. That's the red player, basically. Yeah, really liking that one. I have a... There you go.
And this is, if you're playing the red player, you're one of these druids who is in this forest. You're cleaning up the corruption. Mm-hmm. You're purifying the corruption and using the harmony to empower the magical fae, whispering with the golems and learning their secrets.
Yeah, I love that one. Can't wait to show all the other ones, but they're being tweaked and all that stuff. So, but that'll come along the way. So yeah, lots of diving into Whisperwood.
You want to talk about some of the other games we played?
Yeah.
So, well, in addition to unpublished prototypes, which those are not final, this one, let's start with last few weeks or I guess a couple months. I've been playing a lot of Covenant, and so this is dwarves doing Euro game stuff, and it's fantastic. Devere Games. I picked this one up at PAX Unplugged, and I think I played it 4 times. I think I taught it to some folks, including Peter, last time I was down here. And it's definitely a game that, remarkably, you only have 12 turns in that game. You have 12 turns, but the way that each turn and each action that you take, if you're doing it efficiently, you're going to trigger, these, cascading events and benefits to where the 12 turns ends up feeling like 30 if you're doing it right. And then the first time I played, I think I scored like 50 points, and the next time 70, and the next time 90 something. And so there was this, it was gratifying to feel like I had to go through this learning curve to attack it. But that's one you haven't played.
I haven't played that one yet, okay. But I do really like Devere Games. They often have really tight games that are right in my wheelhouse.
It's a thoughtful design, and it has a lot of components, and they smartly shaped all of the tokens so that, like, when first time you read it, you're looking like, oh, where does all this go? And then you realize, oh, I just mix up the tokens of this type and I just put them on the right shapes, and it's pretty much that much work. Nice. When Cardboard Alchemy as a whole technically wasn't at Essen, but some of us were there. And while I was at Essen, I got to meet the designers of Recall, amongst other folks. And so, now if you see this awesome piece of art with the eye, and it doesn't necessarily translate well on the small screen, but a really interesting and fun thing that they did with this game is you take the game board and you look at the reverse side, and it's a pretty good sized game board. The reverse side is this cover art, and it's like a hangable painting. It's amazing.
Then you can't play.
But this game would be amazing with no art. Like it could be black and white chits and tokens. It has an amazing flow to it, has a great logic to it, and the manner in which the variability is introduced, I think, creates an amazing amount of replayability.
It's another heavy one. Yeah.
Heavy, took a little while to learn, but it has some logic to it. And if you've played their previous game, Revive, it has a very similar flow and feel. It is definitely a different game, but has enough characteristics in common that I think it takes what Revive did and kicks it up a notch.
Yeah.
What did you have other thoughts about Revive?
Not only is the artwork good and of course the gameplay, but they do some really fun, clever stuff about the keys that slot into your player board. I love that kind of thoughtfulness as far as production goes. It feels good when you do it. Trying to figure out which action goes with the other action. There's a theme between you and me of what kind of games we like to make and play. So this is a heavy game thing. In fact, the next one you're about to talk about, also in that realm. But yeah,
there's hoping there will be a purple player color in
so far we're playing it.
We currently have a purple player color for sure.
We know it's important.
Peter says, how many turns are there in Whisperwood? And we have the data on that. So players who the average is somewhere in the 30s, mid 30s in terms of the number of turns, and that's in addition to your planning phases. Players who manage to get maybe a little more action efficiency and unlock a few special things can get the number of turns that they take up to 40 turns in 7 rounds of Whisperwood, which is remarkable. A lot of those turns are short little things that some of them can be have some cascading effects.
7 rounds, so 5 to 6 turns on average per round. Yeah.
Where game time is coming in around between 40 minutes and an hour per player. It definitely decreases after your first play.
Yeah, first play probably an hour per player.
We're playing a lot of games ourselves where first plays are an hour or longer. I think this one came in shorter, but I think everybody played this one once or something in the past.
It's pretty tight,
but this is Clans of Caledonia, and this is Peter taught me this game several years ago, and one thing that was pretty remarkable was when you look at this box, you think you're playing maybe low lightweight Euro game, maybe in terms of game weight because of the size of the box. But this is a full-fledged Euro. This is the real deal.
Yeah, they packed a really big game into a little box. Did a great job.
Now the new version that came with the expansion.
Yeah, the box got more kind of balance to what you're expecting, that kind of gameplay.
Yeah, got a little bigger.
Economics game.
There we go.
Lots of buying, selling, producing, filling contracts kind of thing. Very good. I like this game.
All I noticed last night, or we played this one last night.
I lost that one too. I lost all the games.
I got to play the faction that made whiskey and put it in the cellar and profited from whiskey, and it was so fun. It was whiskey all day long.
Here's an interesting one for you. What has a playtester done that surprised you the most when playing Whisperwood?
Yeah, I got to think about that.
And name them.
Surprised me the most. Well, we have those circumstances where playtester will find something that's abusable. They'll just take something a little too far, and I'm trying to remember the last one that was just like,
which is the point of playtesting. You need to find those things.
What did we just say? Oh, that's just got to go, or we need to change that ability right away. Sometimes you can modify costs or make something scarcer. Or
it's usually familiars. So we have familiars that are your own personal, not pet because you exist, together and stuff like that, but a familiar basically. You have your own personal familiar that you work with, and they're asymmetrical. So I'll start with, I don't want to name animals because they might change. We're giving Sergio the freedom to change those. But let's say I start with a raccoon and you start with a fish. Let's name something else. So his familiar is going to do something totally different. Mine's going to be totally different. And the balancing those is probably one of the wackiest things right now because we're trying to do them so differently and feel so different that one of them's going to be way up here in power, one of them's going to be way down here. So I think that's usually the culprit whenever someone abuses in a good way. It like just shows like how well it can be used or how poorly it can be used. Yeah, the otters. The otters are wildlife that everyone gets to play with.
So yeah, are the otters broken? So right now, not so much.
Not yet.
Yeah, we made some minor tweaks. We mess with the owls a little bit. That seemed to be beneficial. But yeah, those of you who have been playing, we've had enough conversations, enough intense plays that you're definitely going to see some changes next time you play.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we covered Whisperwood pretty well. We have gone into the games that we played this week. We could want to take a minute and talk about Flamecraft Duels, which is Cardboard Alchemy's hot new hit.
Yeah, we have a few fun post images here that Rosie's prepared for us. Showing different plays. I think this one was done on a vacation. Is that right? You have those up here?
Well, what's been amazing about Flamecraft already has this history of people, loving to take the dragon plushies out to different places, taking photos, posing the plushies. And those of you who are in the Facebook group for Flamecraft Online, you get to see all these things. But now and Instagram and so on. But now we have this trend of a lot of folks who are taking Flamecraft Duels, which was built to be a very portable game, especially as the deluxe version with the box becomes the board and the waterproof cards and so on. They're playing this game in all kinds of great places. So here we have John Allen shared this post in the group of playing on a ferry boat. So you can play it on pretty small tables that aren't really, wouldn't normally be board game friendly.
They have a nicer ferry than I did. I don't think we have tables to play games on the ferry.
They let you sit? Yeah.
We have to row.
Yeah. So those of you out there, if you take your Flamecraft Duels out there to someplace fun, share where you've been, share what's going on. What else you got there?
Train. That's a good use of it. Peter and I and a few friends went to a convention, or you two as well.
I was there.
Yeah. Went to a convention on a train. We called it TrainCon because we just sat on the train and played games all the time. That's great.
Yeah.
We should have had duels. That's good. Which drinks pair with which dragons?
Ooh, drinks and dragons. So yeah, cocktails, and we were having a conversation about cocktails the other day. Cocktail is a funny word because it's also in Spanish it's pico de gallo also, but also cocktail. But there's all of these different things that are cocktails. You got a shrimp cocktail, you've got a drink cocktail, you've got a Molotov cocktail, whatever you need.
Whatever you need. Yeah.
So what are drinks that pair with duels? Seems like if it's a duels drink, it should have only 2 ingredients in it, right? It should be X and Y.
Oh, so you're saying you should just have a single drink for all the other
Or
ones,
should it have a drink for every dragon? No, it should be, yeah.
Bread dragon is mead.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can get in trouble with that conversation. Shannon has nice. Andromeda's that moves away from duels a little bit, but
we can bounce. That's all right. We can bounce. Yeah. This is a post from Shannon Delheimer, who's been playing Andromeda's Edge, discovered Andromeda's Edge. Mm-hmm. She loved it and was asking folks about their favorite factions.
Welcome to the Void.
Yeah. So if you hadn't noticed, behind us, we've got the Whisperwood faction for Andromeda's Edge, which is called the Wood Whisperers. So we're doing a hybrid crossover thematic presentation here. And that's a great faction. I hope everyone gets to try that faction once Genesis is out there.
Trying to find the right image. Yeah. So that image with the Whisperwoods. Yeah. In fact, the druid on the far area way over there. That is this version of Heather Drift, kind of the same, has a staff, has the red cape and cloak that we were talking about. Yeah, I love this image.
So this is bringing together these two worlds. So somewhere in the galaxy of Andromeda, everything happening in Whisperwood is there.
It's the nexus of all this other stuff.
Pandora.
Yeah. There's another one.
Oh, that's me. Look, this is a post from Luke Laurie.
No, we don't know.
Did I say that right? So Andromeda's Edge hit the top 200 games on Board Game Geek, and holy smokes, I could not be happier about that. I've never had a top 100 game yet, but Dwellings of Eldervale is very close. It hovers around between 120 and 130. I can't recall if Energy Empire ever made it in the top 200. I know it got close, but now currently I have 2 games in the top 200, and so does Peter, because Peter worked with me on both of these games. Dwellings of Eldervale was with Breaking Games, but Peter was a developer and project manager on that, and I consider him co-designer because we created that together. So, and here's Andromeda's Edge, Cardboard Alchemy's BGG highest ranking game, and it's exciting to watch it climb.
No.
Yet, so far.
Yet. Challenge. Yeah, and congratulations. It should have been up there even sooner, as far as I'm concerned.
Let's take this question from Quirkleton, who asks about his son. Flamecraft Dragons went to Andromeda's Edge. So how did that happen? So we now we have Genesis, we also know that Martians, that is people working to develop Mars, find their way to the Edge. And the Edge there are portions of the Edge that have wrinkles and extra dimensional space. And as such, it is possible that beings, not just from other galaxies or other times, could come from other entire dimensions. And here we have the Flamecraft Dragons on their ship, sipping their teas and lattes and whatever else.
Oh, and you have the Dwellers.
We have the
tribes.
we have the Elders of Dwellinon as a faction. We have the allied tribes from Rise of Tribes. So yeah, we like the idea that all is possible in Andromeda and can bring it all together.
Yeah, it's awesome. We also pull in another one of Cardboard Alchemy's. That's not the one I clicked on, is it?
That's interesting. We've got a thumb. There we go. It just didn't change.
Nice. So we got this image from I believe
Impy.
They're in here,
I think
right?
Impy posted this one.
Impy's in here.
Shared this one.
Yeah. Where is this exactly? I mean, it looks like a fun little beach, but
so seaside in the UK somewhere. When I first saw it, there's some beaches in California that are fairly close, except you don't usually see a pier like that going over that much sand in California.
Tide's out.
Yeah, so that's a pretty extreme tide. But the bluffs, yeah, we definitely have bluffs like that in California.
They have Lillian. They have Cosmo sitting there from Critter Kitchen. Cosmo's one of the promos, which is a fun one because it can be pretty much kind of a random one. Whenever you get that chef, you draw to see what you're getting. It's fun.
Saltburn by the Sea in northeast England is the place.
Saltburn is the name of the place?
That's
that
interesting.
Sounds made up.
Yeah. There's this game right on the shelf right near us called Saltfjord, which is a great game.
I haven't played that one yet.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Join our Facebook group. You'll see a lot of posts like this. Maybe if you post some fun stuff, it might end up on Peter's show here.
So we've hit a lot of the topics that we talked about discussing, and we did talk about the work that we're doing specifically on Whisperwood and becoming part of play tests. You can join the Discord, and you can find us in there and get involved in the play tests if that interests you. But we could talk a little bit more about what it means for us to be developers and what development work is. So currently, my primary project as a developer is working on Whisperwood, and Chris, your primary project right now is working mostly on Flamebound.
Flamebound, yep.
And then our work touches on many other aspects of things. We're both assisting on things related to finishing Andromeda's Edge, Genesis, getting that ready, and other projects that Cardboard Alchemy is working on. And then we also both have side projects that we work on as designers as well.
Yep.
But let's talk about development.
Yeah, well, somebody asked the question, I think it was last night, what's the difference between designing and development, right? And you and I started answering, and I don't know if we quite answered the same. So it's interesting. I'll pose that question back to you.
Yeah.
And then
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, there's right ways to say it and wrong. So,
and then there's my way.
But people also, the divisions of labor in how board games are made, part of the reason is that these are not necessarily fields that have super firm definitions, because there are a lot of games that are made, small scale with very few people creating the entire game. And therefore the design, development, production is going to overlap more. And then you have games that come out of companies that have a tremendous staff, where someone in a position like Chris or I would be doing something as a developer. You might be overseeing a team of developers who would be actually doing the things that you and I do, and instead the developer would be overseeing that. So it's different in sizes of company, and it's different in terms of philosophical approaches to divisions of labor and purpose. So you tell me, what is a developer?
I likened it to the difference between a writer and an editor. So the designer creates the world, the game, all that stuff. It's the developer that needs to fine tune it, cut the fat, or sometimes add a little bit where it needs it. Find the pitfalls, do the things that we were just talking about, where this thing's broken, this thing goes crazy, find all that little stuff, which means you do tons and tons and tons of test plays. And I've noticed a lot of designers seem to do a lot of test plays and then hand off their stuff to a publisher, who then has to do a lot of test plays as well. And some designers do some test plays and hand it to publishers, and they have to do the other half of that. And I think it's an interesting thing to see, because I've worked with a lot of publishers at this point. It's an interesting thing to see that it's different for every single publisher. So anything I say that a developer does and all that stuff could be completely different than another publisher.
Right. And
it's very similar kind of with us, because we're in the same publishing company, but it's different everywhere you go. But in general, you are taking the game that was already designed and you are fine tuning it and honing it. So.
And I have been a designer who has worked on games with other companies in other contexts, and some of these companies are smaller and some are larger. So from small company like working with Minion Games, where Minion Games was James Matthew. It was essentially a single individual who would hire freelancers to do some of the work, but essentially working with a single individual to make a game. And on that project, Energy Empire, then a lot of the development work fell on the designers to do. We did all the playtesting, made the adjustments as we went along, and then fed that back with Minion Games. Whereas when you work with a larger company that has a staff to approach it and so on, it's more likely that they will take the game, and the next time you will really see it is if they're like, by the way, we changed this, heads up. And the heads up isn't necessarily that you even have a say in it. And then you might see the product finished, and you'll have to kind of relearn it yourself potentially. So that can happen as well. I've been fortunate in that I've had a say as a designer in a lot of the work that has gone through various publishers. had pretty, collegial interactions with the people who were the developers. But at the same time, I would still defer to the company with their intent, because part of the purpose of what the developer does is takes the designer's work and turns it into the company's product. And so that can require, work done to improve the gameplay and prepare it. But it also can be about modifying the work for the work to become a viable product, because sometimes the design itself isn't there to be that product of what it could be. I've been pushed, for example, in some of my work as a designer, to add additional content so that this game can be ready to be, a great Kickstarter crowdfunding darling, so to speak. And in other cases, back in the old days, so to speak, sometimes the publisher needs to push the designers to, how can you trim things? How can you make this use fewer components, be more efficient, and so on? So it would be the developer's role, in part, to evaluate how can we improve this game? How can we keep this game fully functional? But then how also do we meet the needs that the publisher has established? So it doesn't come with a rigid, here's what you do at 9 a.m, here's what you do at 10. It is
tackling problems as they show up, basically, or as they reveal themselves. Right.
Yeah. And I'm sure, I don't want to speak for you, but for me, a lot of what draws me to the work as a developer is really similar to what draws me to the work as a designer, and that it uses all of my faculties.
Yep.
It takes an artistic sensibility and a creative perspective, but it takes a sense of math and problem solving. You're kind of using an iterative engineering design process as you are going through running tests, making modifications, and approaching it from a systems perspective. So it uses everything. There isn't any part of the brain that isn't going to be taxed as you move through. This is true of the design, it's true of development.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I have a question we could probably both answer forever, but Little Dragon says, I hope to work on a board game someday. Been planning it for over a year now. Any tips for starting out? My tip would be stop planning and do it, because I have notebooks, piles of notebooks of planning and our ideas and stuff like that. It doesn't get the momentum. Yeah, yeah, it doesn't get the momentum until you get it to the table. Go grab index cards, do whatever you need to do to play one round of it. You don't have to make the entire game. Play one round and it'll get you going. That's my tip.
I foolishly build the entire game before I play it. Okay, this game's going to use all these decks. I'm going to build all the cards. I get the board ready. I get it all out there. Oh, it doesn't work. I don't know that there's a perfect answer, but if you're planning the game, I think you are already. You are designing already.
I agree with
that.
The
design has begun.
But to get going.
And I fill countless spirals, and a lot of what goes in the spirals never makes it onto the computer. I usually don't build a prototype without doing something digital. So I know there are some designers who will they're using Sharpies and they're cutting out paper and stuff like that. For me, the process of going from the spiral notebook to a combination of spreadsheets and drawings, because I want to feel for the size of the components. I want to feel for how this looks and seems on the table. I want to sense for what the magnitude is of these parts and pieces. And then when I'm building it in my head, I have all these imaginations of what it's going to feel like to engage in those choices, because games are so much about choices. That's the part where I can sometimes be misled, because what might feel like an interesting choice in abstract turns out to be a less interesting choice in practice. So you actually do the choice and you realize, well, wait, there's actually an obvious answer for this. There isn't an interesting choice. Or this choice is actually not a meaningful choice because of these other factors that are random or unpredictable. So Yeah, you got to get to the point where you can feel it to know whether it is going to be a good game.
To put a caveat on what I said about writing stuff out and all, because I come from a graphics background, my first thing to do is to build it in Illustrator and stuff like that, because that you start off with something like, oh, this is a bag drawing game or something like that, which means tokens are all what it's about. So now I need to know how big the player board and all that stuff is. A lot of people don't have that background or that ability to jump in and make graphics, and you don't need it. But that's my version of putting it on there. And now that you have TTS, I just saw a comment that some people don't have the play testing group or even the game group to take your game and test it and stuff like that. If you do get into Tabletopia or Tabletop Simulator, you can make your own version that way. A little bit harder if you don't have any graphics background, but you don't have to, it doesn't take forever to figure it out. Watch a few videos, you could get some ideas to do that too. There's always a way. Just you have to kind of push yourself into those zones. In every path of design, I think every designer has their different spots that is the hurdle for them. Like you might have a real easy time getting it to the table or to the computer or something someone else doesn't, or someone gets stopped when it gets to content time or something like that. So whatever your hurdle is, it's just that, that actual like push into it just a little bit, like that 10-minute, what's that rule where it's like do a thing for 10 minutes that you can't, if you're overwhelmed for a thing, just say, promise that you'll do it for 10 minutes. So do just a little bit of something there.
Yeah. I
which one?
I was thinking one of the processes that I go through where I feel like it's is this a game or not, is when I go and I build a player reference card. I build a player reference card before I try to build a rule book. And what I find is, can I encapsulate this game onto a card, or at least a couple of cards, because these are pretty complex games I tend to make. And can I identify this in a logical flow and sequence? And do I have the right vocabulary to say, this is what you do in this game? And sometimes what I find is, as I'm doing that, as I'm putting down this set of steps and or procedures, sometimes I already find logical flaws in how the game will flow or work if these are your major choices in the game. And I also find that if it's starting to become really cumbersome to try to explain what you do here, I probably need to change that rule. That rule is too contrived to be a rule. Now, that said, I've played countless games that have rules like that, and then once you've got it, but it takes a while to get there.
It's always exceptions.
It's like those Magic the Gathering cards where the rule is an entire paragraph, but once you've grokked it and it's there, you just throw down the card and you kind of have a concept for it. However, if it's the core rules of the game, and you can't really explain that in a series of steps, that you might need to change your angle.
I'm the crazy person that dives in and writes the rule book at step 2 because I like writing rule books, but that's just me. We only have a few minutes left, and they had some specific questions for you that I think we should
did I miss something?
So this is fun. It's just a fun one to think about.
So this is with regards to, would we consider a junior version of Andromeda's Edge, or something simpler that might be more accessible to younger players? And I think the answer is yes and no. I don't know that I would specifically make a game that would target younger players, but I have worked on ideas and concepts that would feed into a possible 2-player experience that might be scaled down in terms of what you do in Andromeda's Edge. So that's not an existing game. I don't even have a prototype, but yes, I've dabbled in the idea of something more streamlined, something shorter, something potentially more accessible, but not an easy game. One glorious thing about children and making games for young children is that your kids age. And my son is Maximus Laurie, co-designer of Andromeda's Edge, and he's 25 years old. And the glorious thing is there are games for those kids already. And so when you find the games that they like already and you embrace the games that they do enjoy, I find that's one of the best ways to like really get kids hooked. And then when they're ready, you know, you can bring out that game that is the one that you think that they will love and enjoy. We've seen a lot of players with dwellings that they can play dwellings even if they don't understand all of the rules. There's a general sense of, yeah, put something out there. What can I say about Castaways? I'm not sure if I know what you're talking about. There is work on some other games with some other publishers, and yeah, things are going good on a lot of different fronts. Evan says, "What's up?" I'll say, "What's up?" back.
Hi, Evan. Working on the rule book now. Player aids, nice. Yeah,
Excellent.
just put a little bit of work into it every day. That's the easy advice that's hard to follow, right?
Chris,
Yep.
What's your favorite part about making games?
Problem solving. That's my favorite part about all the stuff I've ever done. Graphic design. That's why I have so many hats, or professional hats, because there's problem solving on any level makes you sharp, keeps you going, keeps things alive for you.
That's part of why we play games too, right? Like it's the puzzling,
it's a game in
it's
itself.
the thinking through. Is it the joy that comes from solving it, or is it the process itself?
The process itself. And that's I guess that would be another design advice, is that don't focus on how people are going to feel about the game and enjoy it and stuff like that. Don't focus on that one. Enjoy the process of making it. Like, don't worry about how it's going to get published and all that stuff for the most part. Just enjoy the process and the problem solving and this part would be fun to put in. And, that didn't work. All that different stuff. That's what keeps you going in it.
Nice. Yeah, I can't argue with any of that. I always say to people who want to design that don't focus on the game. That one game that is the thing that you're working on right now, and some people get stuck on, I am designing this game. I try to advise people to instead focus on being a designer. It's the process and it's the discipline that's going to carry you. If getting the game done is the goal, you could just hire someone to do the game for you. The goal is to acquire the skills, to engage in the process, to hone your own skills, and to get joy out of that act of creation. Because I think a lot of folks in this industry are the kinds of people who like to make things, and they do like to enjoy seeing people enjoy the things that they have created.
That's awesome.
And when people are enjoying the things you've created, it's a feedback loop. And it's like, I want to make more things that people will enjoy. And the best games, the greatest games, are yet to be made.
That's awesome. Some people are talking about how their kids are part of their playtest groups at this point. Yeah. Kids can be really helpful that way. And it's wonderful to involve them, as you would know, in the design process.
Yeah, my son's been instrumental in my games for years. My daughter was actually one of the leading playtesters in Flamecraft Duels. So playing this last winter, awesome. We were working on Flamecraft Duels, and physical plays of my daughter and I just around the dining room table again and again and again was part of that process, which was really fun to work on. Mm-hmm. And now she has a copy of Flamecraft Duels that's her own, and she has a piece of that. Manny Vega, Sandara Tang, they created this thing, but all of us who worked on it along the way, it's ours too. We get to have that feeling of that this is our work and our thoughts are in here, and it's a great feeling.
This is this question here. Do you ever get carried away with new game ideas? This is my pitfall as a designer, because I do have those stacks of ideas, and so I'll be in the middle of designing one and a new idea hits, and then that's what's interesting. And the best way that I do it anyway is I write it down as much as I can, get it all on paper.
Mhm.
It's a form of expressing that idea, and it kind of takes it out of the focus, and I can then go back to what I'm working on. But that is my pitfall. It's too many ideas, not enough work. I have to focus on the work to get it done.
I tend to design pretty big games, and like the brand new inspirations, not as much as I can get carried away working on one project and neglecting another. And that's only a challenge because there are timelines with some of my projects. However, I'm not sure that's entirely a liability, because sometimes when you step away from the thing that has to get done and you take a break from that and you look at some other project, you can come back to that other project with a greater efficiency because it's informed with a fresh eye. And that's true of playing other people's games. That's true of, interacting with other designers and developers. And it's true of working, shifting from project to project. Some of my best and most innovative design and development work comes from the second I step away from my computer and I'm doing something else, and the screen isn't preoccupying my thoughts, and instead the free associations in my brain take me to a place I might not have gotten to otherwise.
Yeah. Shower ideas. How does solo playtest design go? And I'm on my own. So the pitfall of being the only person working on your game is that you are making a game for an audience of one. And you may represent a very large audience, which you'd be lucky in doing so. But for the most part, you can get that game exactly perfectly how you want it to be, but you might be the only person in the world that wants to play it. The benefit of working with other people, even virtually, is that you're getting other points of view. We have a kind of policy here at Cardboard Alchemy that the designer doesn't develop their game for the most part. But we still interact, obviously. But we need more heads, more minds working on the same project, because you're going to get a focus and you're going to get a wider audience that's going to work with that. Even in solo play, I'd recommend reaching out, finding people online. Even if you don't have people around you, you can reach out online and find people who would be interested in playing your solo game.
Seasonal Dragon 73 is talking about frustrations and challenges of not having any people to work with. And I'm fortunate in that I have had like people close enough and people able to come over to my house and so on, and connecting at conventions. If there's any way for you to be able to get out to conventions a few times a year, sometimes that can open doors. Sometimes by being in some of those situations, I found out about people who actually live near me. But we have all kinds of tools to be able to collaborate online as well. And so that can open doors, connecting via Discord. But one of the key best ways to do that is to start working on other people's games, like volunteering to play test other people's games. And so Discord, being on Discord servers and working with Tabletop Simulator is definitely one way to do that. All kinds of companies are taking playtesters to try out their games. So that's one possible approach. Other possible approaches, sure, design it just yourself, for yourself, and go through those processes and see what happens. You have nothing to lose by engaging in that process.
Learn from it.
Yeah. And then eventually at some point you could find your way to get to one of these events. There are protospiel events, game conventions, and so on. So and it looks like you attend Origins, and I don't know what Origins has for playtesting, though I do know that they have playtesting at PAX Unplugged. Playtesting goes on at Gen Con. I live in California, and there are several smaller conventions where we have playtesting events at every convention. And these aren't even the big ones. These are much smaller conventions, but they'll be attended by as many as 30 designers working on their games.
Now, and I have I have not as good a situation physically in where I am in Houston, just because of friend situations, stuff like that. It's much harder for me to find live players. I can do it, but I have to really push for it and really strive to find it. So I totally get the idea, the issues of I don't have people around me. We don't have game plays and stuff like that, or game stores and stuff like that. But the online idea, like you mentioned, Discord, there are playtest groups on Discord. You can sign up to playtest other people's games, be part of that community. And that is important, because going to a community and going, hey, play my game, you're asking them to do something for you. But if you go to a community and say, let me do something for you, be a playtester, be part of it, contribute, that's how you create. It's not networking, it's making friends. It's like really becoming part of a community. And you can do that online. I do most of my friends I know that are all over the place, not near where I live, just because of all the community building you have to do in order to make those friends and, meet other people and other designers that have those ideas. So yeah, we're lucky that we live in the age where we can do that on the internet, right?
Impy's asking about Flamebound, and we can't say a lot about Flamebound right now. But
I can say a lot. I'm just not allowed to.
We can tell you that in terms of playtesting, yeah, we will be having more folks. We'll be taking playtesters in to be trying out Flamebound in the near future. And we played 4 games of Flamebound just the other day.
One day
with Manny Vega, the designer.
It was awesome.
And we had some fun. Some good
stuff.
Awesome.
It's a cooperative game, we can say that. In the Flamecraft world, this is one of the pieces of art, actually, which you're only getting to see some of. But yeah, it's a cooperative game where you're working together, adventure style, trying to get stuff done. It's very Euro feel, just like the original Flamecraft, but it has different mechanisms, different ways of doing stuff. It's going to be really fun. Some of you might have already play tested a little bit, so we're going to open that up pretty soon, as Luke said. Will it have a solo? We always try to plan solos for our games. We try to. I think, do all of our games have solos at this point? Cardboard Alchemy? Start looking around. What are our games?
I think so.
The effort is always in there to do it. I can't promise anything, because what if Manny tries it? What if we try it and work at it and it just doesn't work? But we're definitely trying.
With Duels, when we were working in development, we had no intention of building a solo. And then one day Manny says, hey, I've got a solo. And it didn't take us that long to take it from his concept to being fully functional. And now it's amazing seeing all these posts of people playing Flamecraft Duels solo right now, which that's amazing. So yeah, the solo community is really strong with supporting our games, and very appreciative of the work that we do to make the solo experience a real and true game, a solid game.
And I'm working on solo for Whisperwood, which you are eager to get. I just don't have it quite ready to show you yet.
Got to do the solo.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're near the end of the show.
We went over a little bit, but that was expected.
All right.
Happens.
Well, thank you everyone for checking out the stream and joining us on this takeover. I hope we didn't disappoint with our conversation topics or our lack of skill, but
yeah, Peter and Rosie should both be back, or is it just Rosie next time? I don't actually know.
No information. Peter's definitely traveling, but we will see.
That's right.
Yeah, we will see. So take care, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Get my hand on the screen.
Yeah.
Take care.
And I'm trying to hit the right buttons.